Hello, welcome back to the pod, everybody. Happy Monday. Hope you guys are having a good start to the week. I wanted to talk through my best Husker games I've been to in person. Not all of these are going to be wins. I'm hoping I can get some engagement from some of you in the audience. But in my time, I'm 31 years old. My dad's been a season ticket holder for 20 plus years. We've been to a lot of games. We've witnessed a lot of bad losses, a lot of heartbreaking losses, but I thought this would be a fun episode to do while we're, don't have a ton of content. It's kind of a dead period. We're waiting on football to start. But in all my years, I did a top 10 list of the best Husker games I've been to. So we're going to go start at 10, go all the way to number 1. So number 10, 2011, Nebraska was ranked 11th. They were playing Washington. The Washington Huskies were led by Steve Sarkisian. The Huskers won this game 51-38. This was our first season in the Big Ten Conference. This was the only difficult non-conference game that year. Everyone had a lot of hype around the Huskers, thinking they were going to come into the Big Ten and dominate. The Big Ten wasn't an elite conference like it is now, and that's not how things went. But this game, we had just come off a close win over Fresno State the week prior. There wasn't a whole lot of confidence. There was some kind of nervousness in the air. It was a cloudy, rainy day. Didn't end up raining, but it was just not a nice day at all for football. But the Huskers ended up pulling this one out. We piled up 309 rushing yards against Washington, led by Rex Burkhead, Taylor Martinez, and Aaron Green. Nebraska, it's been a long time since we've been ranked 11th or even close to the top 10. But again, there was a lot of hype around this team. Washington was on the upward trend. They had Keith Price at quarterback. And then they had a good running back as well. I can't remember his name. Keith Price. But he was good. Let me show you some highlights from this game. I want to show you Levante David's interception in this one. Okay. All right, here we go. 2011.
Offensive line. Again, that goes back to their ability to be physical, and that's what they were in the second game. And it looks like that's what they're trying to establish in our
Chris Polk.
Right now in this.
He had a good game, 130 yards rushing. We couldn't stop him.
Washington on the move again.
Watch this interception by Levante David.
Another play action pass. And
how he picked that off. I went crazy. God, he was so good. So anyway, Washington's on the upward trend. This wasn't an easy game, but I think one of the things this did do is it kind of foreshadowed some of the defensive weaknesses that Nebraska had in 2011. We ended up giving up 158 rushing yards a game that season. But this game, I was there in Lincoln with my dad. It was fun being there, playing a team like Washington that we played them the year before in Seattle, but getting them in Lincoln, it was cool. And they had a relatively, new team. They lost that quarterback from the year prior, but they had Steve Sarkisian at coach. They had some weapons on offense. This was not an easy game to win, but we pulled it out in the end. All right, number 9. 2009, when we had Ndamukong Suh and the nation's best defense. We had played Oklahoma. Now, going into this game, I was nervous. I thought we'd get blown out. But the defense stepped up, intercepted the Oklahoma quarterback 5 times. It was Landry Jones. Picked him off 5 times, held them without a touchdown. Now, I don't know how long it had been since they had not scored a touchdown, but it was years, maybe decades. Now, Nebraska's offense was terrible this game. We only compiled 180 yards. I remember the moaning and groaning and the fans around me, just how bad and anemic the offense was. Oklahoma had 325 yards of offense, but the black shirt defense, the turnovers was the key. We did have 141 rushing yards to Oklahoma's 80. That was mainly Roy Helu Jr., 20 carries, 138 yards. But for me, the reason this makes the list, Oklahoma's ranked 24th. They weren't a very good team that year, but this is Oklahoma. In all my years watching, I was too young in 2001 to remember that game. This was the only time in our Big 12 era where we played Oklahoma and won, and I was at the game. So this was not a series that we had success in from my time watching and remembering watching the Nebraska-Oklahoma series. But my God, and Ndamukong Suh was incredible this game. The whole defense, 5 interceptions. Are you kidding me? Now I want to share with you. I remember this game because of this play right here. Hang on, where is it? Here we go. Okay, so this play was awesome. This was the only touchdown we scored in the game.
Zach, a junior out of San Francisco.
Zach Lee. God, I remember turning to my dad going, thank God. And it was right after Prince Amukamara picked it off, ran it. I thought he should have returned it for a touchdown, but that was the only touchdown we scored. But it was the turnovers, the defense, just absolutely dominating Landry Jones in Oklahoma. That really was like the monumental win of that year. I know we shut out Arizona in the Holiday Bowl, but this was an awesome game to win in Lincoln. Oklahoma had dominated the series for years up to this point. We needed this victory. Okay, number 8. Now, this is going back a ways. 2003. I was only 7 years old at this game. Nebraska opened the year against 24th ranked Oklahoma State in 2003. We had Jamal Lord at quarterback. Frank Solich was his last year as head coach. Again, I was 7 years old in second grade, but I remember it like it was yesterday. I remember in my dad's Lexus, we had a portable TV we plugged into the back. I was watching Tommy Boy and VHSs all the way up to Lincoln. But it was weird because back in 03, during that time, there wasn't a lot of, you didn't do your conference games first game of the season. Typically you played 3 or 4 non-cons and then you got into the Big 12 schedule. We opened the year playing our first Big 12 game. And Oklahoma State came into the year 24th. They had Josh Fields at quarterback, Tatum Bell at running back, and we shut them down. We picked off Josh Fields 3 times. We held Tatum Bell to just 23 carries for 87 yards. And then we all remember Barrett Ruud's fumble recovery for a touchdown to seal the game for the Big Red. But I remember walking out of the stadium after we won this game 17-7. I was so young. I asked my dad, how much do you think the players will get paid for this win? And a lady who heard me right next to us walking out started laughing and goes, I sure hope they aren't getting paid for this. College football has changed dramatically since then. We've come a long way now. Now they are getting paid. But that was, probably one of the best wins of that season. And it was a good year for Frank Solich. Finished 10-3. Now, he got fired after the Colorado game, but we finished strong in the Alamo Bowl, beating Michigan State 17-3. But this was, and I don't think Michigan State was ranked. So this may have been the one ranked game we won in 2003. Now, I want to show you Barrett Ruud's fumble recovery for a touchdown. He was a hell of a linebacker, man. And look how old the film is. It's so blurry, and that's how long ago this was.
Bell lost the ball, and the Cornhuskers scoop it up, and it's Ruud. Touchdown.
So they had the lead at that point, and Barrett Ruud takes it to the house. That was awesome. That was awesome. Okay. All right, moving on. Number 7, 2008, baby. Bo Pelini's first season as head coach. We took on the Kansas Jayhawks. They were coming off their Orange Bowl victory the season prior. They had Todd Reesing at quarterback, several playmakers on offense like Desmond Briscoe, the wide receiver. He went off this game. Jake Sharp at running back. This was an awesome game. High scoring, entertaining, back and forth, momentum swings. Now, at this point, right, in Bo Pelini's first season, 07, our defense was terrible, historically bad. Beginning of the 08 season, we worked through some kinks. It wasn't great right out of the gate, but by this time in November, I think it was November 7th, end of the year, our defense was getting better and better. And at this point, Suh was becoming a force. He had a phenomenal game. He caught a touchdown pass, lined up at fullback in this game. He had 12 tackles, 4.5 TFLs, 2.5 sacks. He was a beast. But Joe Gans was a machine this game. 28 of 37 for 324 yards and 3 touchdowns. Roy Helu led us in rushing, 115 yards and 2 touchdowns. And look at Suh. 12 tackles, 4 TFLs, 2.5 sacks, and a touchdown reception. I mean, but this game was awesome because KU was a good team. They finished this season strong. The next game, they upset Mizzou, who had Chase Daniel and all them. So this was a big-time win for us, and it just, catapulted a strong finish in Bo Pelini's first season. We went on to win the Gator Bowl and upset Clemson. This win really propelled it. Let me show you some highlights from this one. Another dark, gloomy game. But, man, it was fun. I was there with my uncle, who's a Jayhawk fan, my dad, and then my two cousins and one of their buddies who were Jayhawks. They ended up staying in Lincoln to party that night, my cousins. So this is where we line up Ndamukong Suh at fullback. We did this a lot with Suh.
Also, James Holt. Look at the fullback.
Look at Suh at fullback. That was awesome. That was awesome, man. Put a bow on it. So we won that 45-35. Again, KU, the next game, upset a top 25 Missouri in the border war. So this was a big-time win for Nebraska. Mizzou blew us out in Lincoln earlier in the season when our defense was still kind of working through kinks. They beat our ass 52-17. So to get a win over Kansas, who beat Mizzou, this catapulted a really strong finish to the 08 season. And I'll always remember this game because of how mad my uncle was on the drive home. I think Kansas ended up doing like a reverse to the weak side of the field, and we ended up hitting them for a loss. Became 4th down, and he was complaining about that for so long. All right, number 6. Now, this isn't a win. Going back to 2006, Nebraska versus Texas. Texas was top 5. They were 5th in the country. They had Colt McCoy at quarterback. He was a true freshman phenom. The reason this one makes the list is it proved that Nebraska could hang with the best teams in the country. Earlier in the year in 06, we lost 28-10 to USC, who was elite of the elite. So there was a lot of nerves coming into this game. It was an 11 a.m. game. It started snowing, which was badass, made the atmosphere better. But I remember the opening kickoff. The opening kickoff, Texas almost ran it back for a touchdown, and the crowd went silent. And I remember thinking, "Oh my God, we're in store for a beatdown." And it wasn't that. It was an absolute battle. Our defense played outstanding. Zach Taylor in the passing attack paved the way. I remember his first touchdown pass to Maurice Purify. Threw it in between two defenders. He caught it, broke the tackles, and ran into the end zone. It was awesome. Colt McCoy was incredible this game. Now, unfortunately, we had the ball with like 2.5 minutes left, trying to seal the game. Terrence Nunn fumbles. The Longhorns get it. And the Texas secondary was incredible. They had, I think, Aaron Ross, and then their safeties. I can't remember their names, but they were studs. And they would hit low and submarine you. I remember my dad would always talk about, man, their DBs submarine. They just chop your legs out. That's what they did. It was Michael Griffin. He took out Terrence Nunn's legs. He fumbled the ball, and they get it. They go down the field and kick a field goal in the final seconds. But regardless, I'll never forget this game. The snow coming down, I think, in the third, fourth quarter. I remember, looking over at my dad and saying something, and the lady sitting next to me patted me on the head. It was a blast. It was such a tight, close game. Now, Zach Taylor, I talked about his touchdown to Maurice Purify. That was the crowd was so loud after that. We all went nuts. Taylor had a pretty good game, 15 of 28, 277 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. But this is the play I wanted to show you. Marlon Lucky threw the touchdown pass to Nate Swift with under 5 minutes to go to give us the lead in the fourth quarter. So let me show you this. I had forgotten that this play happened. I mainly remembered Brandon Jackson's pass he caught. He ran it like 40 yards for a touchdown. But let's check out this. Marlon Lucky's touchdown pass to Nate Swift. So you see – oh, wait, hang on. Let me go back. All right, here we go.
Lucky in as the running back.
We did this a bunch. This wasn't the only time he had a touchdown pass. What a play. What a play call. So that gave us the lead. Texas got the ball back. We held them. Then that's when we got the ball back and tried to run out the clock and ended up Terrence Nunn fumbled. But look at the crowd. I mean, it was electric. Electric. It was such a fun game to be at. I'll never forget that one. Okay, moving and grooving. We're on to number 5 here. 2010. Roy Helu set the all-time single-game rushing record against Missouri. Nebraska won 31-17 over the 6th-ranked Missouri Tigers. They came in 6-0. Had all the momentum, an incredible passing attack led by Blaine Gabbert at quarterback. They had great receivers, but Roy Helu Jr. stole the show. 307 rushing yards, 3 long touchdown runs. I mean, it was like Missouri's defense was in slow motion. Roy Helu cemented his NFL draft stock, showcasing his speed, taking it to the house, outrunning those safeties for Missouri. He really showed you when he's healthy, he could fly, baby. And this was probably the most dominant win we've ever had against a top 10 team. I mean, it was 24-0 at one point. I don't know if I've ever been happier at a game when it was 24-0. Now, Mizzou kind of made a comeback, but the best part was Blaine Gabbert, who decommitted from Nebraska to go to Mizzou, 5-star recruit out of high school. We shut his ass down, got after him all day, sacked him a bunch. Our secondary played outstanding, showcased that they were one of the best secondaries in the country. He couldn't do anything against us. And then the goal line stand where it was Gabbert who tried to run it in, and we just slammed him back. It was awesome. And one of my good buddies was a giant Tiger fan. I was talking shit after the game, but I got to show you some of the highlights from Roy Helu. God, this was an awesome game, man. And it was a beautiful day, gorgeous atmosphere, great weather. Show you a few highlights.
3rd and 10. Gabbert retreats. Pressure gets his pass away, and he just.
So, I mean, that's how it was all day for Gabbert. He couldn't do anything. Here's the first touchdown run. Look at him outrun the safety.
He's off to the races.
Off to the hello and goodbye, baby.
From scrimmage, 66.
And he just did it 2 more times. It was like every time we gave him the ball, he was gone.
So we'll take a timeout. 66 yards with a touchdown. Gabbert.
And here's
hands the ball off. No,
Gabbert trying to run. I mean, he just couldn't do anything with his legs. Our defense played outstanding.
3rd down and 10.
Outstanding. There's a sack we get, I think. Or he just throws it away. So he's just doing that all game. Just throwing it out of bounds, throwing it out of bounds. The defense was legit in 2010, man. All right, number 4. Going to 2016, Nebraska versus 22nd ranked Oregon. This was the Mike Riley era. This was probably the best Husker season in recent memory. 2016, we went 9-4, but this was a huge win. Coming into this game, everyone thought Oregon was legit. They were ranked 22nd, had a ton of speed. I don't remember who was their coach. They got rid of him after only a couple of seasons. He didn't do very well. Oregon ended up not having a very good team this year, but getting this win, I remember I was in college. I was at this game with my dad. The crowd was electric. It was a back-and-forth, high-scoring game. Tommy Armstrong Jr. had a great game running and passing. It was awesome. It was like the first time in years we had beaten a ranked team, at a game that I was at. Tommy Armstrong won the game for us with his 32-yard touchdown at the end of the game. Oregon did have a lot of speed, but their defense just couldn't slow down our passing attack or our rushing attack. Armstrong was 17 of 33, 200 yards, 3 touchdowns. He also ran 16 times for 95 yards and a touchdown. And Devine Ezigbo ran 21 times for 95 yards and a touchdown. But it was a back-and-forth game, man. I mean, this was a great game. Came down to the very end. Nebraska had to come up with a defensive stand to win the game. I remember it was Michael Rose-Ivy laid the hit to get the victory for us. Let me show you some of this game. And this was right after our punter died, whose name I can't think of right now. But it was Sam Foltz. It was right after Sam Foltz died. Now, this was Tommy Armstrong's final rushing touchdown to win the game for us. The crowd went nuts.
Quarterback
Design quarterback run.
Armstrong into the
And there he
secondary.
goes, baby.
Armstrong's got a step. Touchdown.
God, we were going. I remember looking back in the crowd, and everyone's just going nuts. I was taking Snapchat. I was in college, so I was in the whole Snapchat mode, sending it to my buddies. It was a beautiful day, great atmosphere, great environment. God, it was just an awesome game. One I'll never forget, being there with my dad. Okay, number 3, going back a little bit further, 2011. I was at this game against Michigan State with my brother-in-law. I had just finished my junior season of football, and we went up with him. Nebraska was ranked 14th. Michigan State was 11th. Nebraska blanked them 24-3. We beat their ass. Kirk Cousins was the quarterback for the Spartans. This was one of the few games where the Nebraska defense played up to played to the level we thought they would the whole year. I mean, only allowing 3 points to Michigan State. Their passing attack was elite with Kirk Cousins. Our secondary showed up, man. I mean, he was just throwing balls up for grabs the whole game. I mean, our game plan was outstanding. They couldn't run the ball on us with that stud running back they had who played for the Steelers. I can't think of his name, but Kirk Cousins had probably one of his worst games. And I remember watching the replay of this game. Urban Meyer was one of the sportscasters calling the game, and I loved it because he had, it was during his short retirement after he was the head coach at Ohio State. He took a year off for something, and he was broadcasting. And it was like hearing all the positive things he said about our team and our defense. It was awesome. But I was there with my brother-in-law, and I remember the thing about this game, it was cold. It was November. Taylor Martinez had gloves, red gloves on both hands. And my brother-in-law and I were like, why the hell? We've never seen a quarterback wear a glove on both hands, right? We get having one on his non-throwing hand, but his throwing hand, how can you throw a tight spiral with a glove on your hand? He didn't have a good passing game. But I remember my brother-in-law and I on the drive back, we were trying to call into the Husker post game to ask that question. My brother-in-law was like, you got to do it. And I was going to say, why does Taylor Martinez wear a glove on his throwing hand? I mean, he's already a terrible thrower to begin with. But, yeah, this was one of the few times, probably the only time Nebraska in the Big Ten era has dominated a top 10 team from start to finish, 24-3. It was the best win of the 2011 season. It was just an awesome win for us. We were so happy. I was so happy on the drive back. And again, Michigan State, was a damn good football team. Let me show you some from this game. Here we go. All right. So I'll show you the final touchdown we scored.
Game here, guys.
Pass to Rex Burkhead.
He's got 31 attempts in the ball game.
See, look at his gloves on his hands. Horrible throwing motion. But he found Burkhead there. And that sealed it, 24-3. So that's number 3 for me. Final 2. All right, number 2, 2024 Nebraska, Colorado. I got to put this at number 2. It's got to be on this list. This was the most fun game I've ever been to. It was with my dad again. Coming into this game, Colorado beat us the year prior. They spanked us. Colorado had Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter and the other Sanders kid. They had a lot of talent on this team. Deion Sanders was the head coach, but they were talking so much shit. The 2 years they had Sanders and Travis Hunter, all they did was talk shit, and they weren't ever that good. But coming into this game, everyone thought, they were going to beat our ass. I mean, they were talking smack before the game. Deion Sanders was like, this one's personal. Why he said that, I don't know. But they had weapons and playmakers. And our defense, the defensive line, showed that they were dominant. Nash Hutmacher, Ty Robinson, we made life a living hell for Shedeur Sanders. I mean, what better way than to come out and out physical and punch them in the mouth right out of the gate? They were shit talking at the coin toss. You could hear the other Sanders brothers saying, we're going to boat race y'all. We sacked Sanders 6 times in this game. We also returned an interception for a touchdown on their opening possession. This was the loudest game I've ever been to at Memorial Stadium. I remember looking at my dad at halftime when we had a lead, saying, this is the best home game I've ever been to. We were so happy and having so much fun. Now, after this win, we thought Nebraska was a legit contender after this game. Didn't end up working out that way. But, God, just how much shit they were talking before the game. I remember I got a shirt that said something like making fun of how Colorado was in it for just the clicks, right? And it was something like clicks, it had clicks instead, or, what Nebraska does well instead of clicks, which is what Colorado always wanted to look for, was just getting attention on social media. And we beat their ass. I got that shirt. I still wear it all the time. But it was awesome the way we won this game. Let me show you some highlights. I'll show you the interception run back for a touchdown on the opening possession for Colorado. Tommy Hill picked it off and ran it back for a touchdown.
Nebraska brings 4. Sanders in
Or no, maybe it was their second possession. But there's a sack by Ty Robinson.
Hole for Dante.
2 incompletions, 2 sacks for Sanders. Now he gets started, a completion to the 40-yard line. Good job of breaking the tackle by Jimmy Horn Jr. and fighting out to the 37.
So we had a 7-0 lead.
Sanders, 5-man rush, quick completion out to the 30, and down to the 28-yard line goes Will Shepherd, the transfer. Early test for the Buffalo offensive line on 4th and 1.
We stuffed him here on 4th and 1. That was big.
Didn't get there.
Where is the damn? Here we go.
Receiver switched to corner. Deion Sanders talking to Tay Wester.
Here it is. Here we go. Pick 6, baby. Get fucked, Shedeur Sanders. So that made it 14-0. Look at him. I was flipping him off from the upper deck. Oh my God, it was awesome. So we beat them 28-10. That was so much fun, shutting them up once and for all. All right, the number one best game I've been to in person. It was a bowl game, 2005 Alamo Bowl in San Antonio, Texas. I was in 5th grade. My whole family went to this game. All 4 of my siblings, 2 sisters, 2 brothers, my mom, my dad. We had a great time in San Antonio. But the Michigan fans were, so confident they were going to kick our ass. And I remember they were 7-4, we were 7-4, but they were ranked 20th. Because all 4 of their losses came by like a combined 7 points. I mean, they had a ton of close losses that year. A very talented Michigan team. Chad Henne at quarterback, Mike Hart at running back. They had a phenomenal defense. What's his name? Woodson at their defensive lineman, something Woodson. But they were loaded. They also had Jason Avant, the wide receiver. But it was a great game. Start to finish, ups, downs, momentum swings, back and forth scoring. And it was a huge victory in Bill Callahan's second year. Really propelled us to have a lot of momentum going into 2006. The lateral play, I'll show you that final play at the end. It almost gave us all a heart attack. And honestly, a lot of people didn't know that a lot of people thought the game was over. Half of Nebraska's team was on the field celebrating. Thank God Zach Bowman tackled that dude out of bounds at the end, but that won the game for us. But Zach Taylor, who was our quarterback, he overcame some early mistakes, finished the game strong, hit Terrence Nunn for a 2-point conversion, and then a touchdown at the end of the game to give us the lead. Chad Henne aired it out this game because they weren't running the ball on us. The Husker defensive front 7 was outstanding, led by Adam Carricker. So they couldn't run on us, but Chad Henne had 270 yards and 3 touchdowns. Again, we held Mike Hart, who's a phenomenal running back, All-American, to 74 yards on 19 carries. And the best part, Nebraska overcame an 11-point deficit in the 4th quarter to win this game. It was Corey Ross, who had 161 rushing yards. Pork Chops was his nickname. Had a 31-yard touchdown with 8:08 left in the 4th quarter to make it 28-23. We went for the 2-point conversion, got it. It was 28-25. Then we forced a fumble, returned it to the Michigan 17, and then we had the go-ahead touchdown to take the lead. But I want to show you the final play because no one will ever forget this. Kirk Herbstreit was doing the call. We didn't really know what was happening, because there were so many Nebraska fans and coaches on the field. Half the stadium was celebrating. but I'll just show you.
Play, 2 seconds left. Here's the end of the game as Henny throws. They'll try to set the hook and ladder.
I mean, the way they ran this hook and ladder was outstanding.
To Mike Hart, who looks for Avant.
You can't draw it up any better.
Who throws it all the way across the field to
So
Manningham.
we thought the game.
Play still alive.
Hang on, we thought the game ended right.
Avant to try to flip it back to, looking for a Music City miracle. They're back beyond the original line of scrimmage.
Look how long this play goes. We thought it was over right here. We thought it was over right there.
It's still a fumble. The game is not over yet.
Look, so it goes final, the scoreboard. Players are running on the field.
Dead yet. Hang on a second here.
Look at this.
This play is still alive as Edgar goes down the field for Michigan, and he's finally brought down at the 15-yard line. The game is over. Nebraska wins.
Woo! Thank you, Zach Bowman. Thank you, Zach Bowman. God
there should be a flag.
Man. But so thank God for Zach Bowman making that final tackle. But I remember the next morning we were staying at a hotel in San Antonio. We went and visited the University of Texas campus, got Chipotle, had a good day before we headed back home. And my mom told us that she saw Zach Taylor working out in our hotel the next morning, did a quick workout. She didn't say anything to him, of course, but I thought that was pretty cool. It was just, it just added to the memory, you know, being there with my whole family. We met a couple of the cheerleaders flying out from Kansas City on the way to San Antonio. We didn't know they were cheerleaders until we always bought binoculars to games. And my oldest brother, who was chatting it up with these girls at the airport, he just was, scanning the field and saw that they were both on the sideline as cheerleaders for Nebraska. So that was another cool story. But I'll never forget this win. In the Bill Callahan era, this was the best win with him as head coach. You know, beating a top 25 Michigan team, a blue blood program. And this was a transition era for Nebraska. You know, we were struggling, right? You know, it wasn't the mid to late 90s anymore. You know, 2002 on, it kind of went downhill. But this was one bright spot for Nebraska in the Bill Callahan era. And being at that game, it was such a cool bowl game. The stadium was awesome. We did a tour of the Alamo. I love San Antonio. It was such a fun trip. So, all right, that rounds out my list. I want some engagement in the comments. I know there's a lot of you Husker fans out there. Let me know what are the best games you've ever been to. Any bowl games you've been to that were big time that you'll never forget. I didn't want to just include all wins here. That's why I included the Texas loss. But that's my top 10 list. So again, like, subscribe. I appreciate it, you guys. It helps out the channel. Share my channel with fellow Huskers, friends, and family. And please leave some comments. I want some engagement. Put a lot of work into these episodes every week. I'd greatly appreciate it. Have a good week. I'll see you guys soon. And like always, go Big Red, baby.